Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here Thursday, June 12th. So we've got winners from Jaguars mandatory minicamp. I'm excited to get into it. Obviously, Jaguars mandatory minicamp, if you've been paying attention, it is complete. 3 practices down, 3 days in, and school's out for summer. Jaguars will not be getting back together as a team until late July for training camp. And then, after training camp hits, season's right around the corner. So we're getting there. We are getting there. But we're going to have winners from Jaguars mandatory minicamp here. Now, I will say, without, adding this disclaimer before, I think it's a little bit disingenuous to talk about minicamp winners because you're not hitting, usually. Not a whole lot of physicality, usually. And for certain positions, it's just hard to judge. I mean, offensive linemen, very difficult to judge. They're put in a really poor position in these unpadded practices. Linebackers, running backs, difficult to judge, right? In a lot of ways. But there's certainly players who I think helped themselves. And some of them, maybe they're fighting for a new contract. Maybe they're fighting for a roster spot. Different things, right? Maybe they're just fighting for the respect of this new coaching staff, this new regime. Fighting to stay on the roster long term. A lot of different things. But there's a number of winners. I also wanted to say, not going to do losers or fallers or anything like that because, again, it's unpadded practice. I just don't want to highlight people in that way from any practices, but B, it is unpadded practice. So we're not going to talk about anybody who, and, if you've been paying attention, you've heard when I've talked about maybe somebody struggled this day or that day, but we're not going to dive in to like losers or anything like that from this type of setting. Y'all know when the season starts, when the bullets are live, when things are real, there will be fair criticism on this channel when necessary. So that's that. But let's get into these winners, right? So I think health is the number one thing you want coming out of a situation like this. 3 practices where competition's ramped up a little bit, but obviously not fully padded or padded in any way, shape, or form. You got out healthy. Brian Thomas Jr. practiced today. There was a little bit of a scare yesterday, as y'all all know. But you got out healthy, and so health, and by extension Brian Thomas Jr. from what happened yesterday, that's a big winner. Dennis Gardeck is still not practicing, coming back from the ACL that he suffered during the season last year. Jaguars signed him last week. I don't know when they expect him to be ready, but my guess is they would hope beginning of training camp or sometime in training camp. I'm not sure exactly. That would be my guess. But everybody who came into the week healthy is leaving the week healthy, which is fantastic. No, Trevor Lawrence was not in a sling. No, Brian Thomas Jr. is not seriously injured. So absolutely awesome. Trayvon Walker, big winner. And, what does it mean for him to be winning minicamp? Not a whole lot. I do think if he continues to play the way he played throughout minicamp into training camp, which I expect him to, and then that translate to the field in 2025, which I expect it to, you could see a contract extension pretty soon. I think that this regime likes him a lot. I think that he likes playing in this new defense, and everybody just raves about Anthony Campanile, however you want to say it. Everybody loves their coach Camp. They absolutely do. But Trayvon, he's been fantastic. One of his best practices ever on Tuesday. And again, unpadded, so, take it with a grain of salt when you're talking about these trench guys. But he was really disruptive, really difficult for anybody to keep in front of. So shout out to Trayvon Walker. What is he playing for? Obviously to be the best he can be, and him and Josh Hines Allen be the most disruptive sack duo in football like they were in 2023. But also contract extension. He is going into year 4. He's under contract through year 5, but the Jaguars, they can sign him whenever they want. Obviously you got to come to an agreement, but the window is now open for the Jaguars to sign Trayvon Walker to an extension. So he's playing for the bag, playing to be the best, but also there's some monetary motivation for sure. Dorian Singer is just trying to make a roster. Rookie undrafted free agent out of Utah. And I think he was the most targeted receiver of any receiver throughout minicamp, probably by a wide margin. And now, obviously, that's not with Trevor Lawrence on the field or anything like that, right? But when you're trying to fight for a roster spot and you're able to create separation, capitalize on all the passes that come your way, and stand out in that regard, and also get complimented by your coaches saying, like, you bring a level of professionalism as a rookie, that's pretty good. Pretty good week for Dorian Singer. Very good week for Tyson Campbell. And what's he playing for? I think he has the respect of his teammates. I think he has the respect of his coaching staff. But, he is going into year 1 of a contract extension that was not a deal that was done by the current regime. And so you look at just proving that you belong here at the number that you're currently at. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And I think he's on his way to doing that. Obviously, for Tyson Campbell, a big part of it is staying healthy, which he struggled to do at times throughout his career. Obviously, he's working his butt off, but it should come as no surprise that he's performing at an extremely high level. He generally, only 25 years old, still crazy to see that. But he generally, when he's been healthy and practicing throughout the summers and training camp and all that, he's been as good as anybody else out there throughout his career. Obviously, year 1 was a big transition from college to the pros, but 2022, 2023, 2024, and now getting into 2025, Tyson Campbell has been dominant on the practice field, and he's been really good when healthy in games as well. But obviously, he's getting paid a lot of money, 19.1 average per year, 19.1 million. He's just trying to, prove that he deserves that to this new regime. And he'll be up for a new contract in 2 or 3 years. He's under contract for the next 4, but usually, if you have a guy that's 25 years old, in 2 years he'll be 27, his contract ain't going to be looking like it is right now. Yeah, he could be up for a new contract in a couple years, so he's got to go out and earn that. Jordan Lewis, the veteran they brought over from Dallas in the secondary, the nickel. He can play nickel or he can play outside at corner. I think he had a really good week. I loved hearing him talk about how he's trying to be the veteran for the rookies and young guys that he didn't have as a youngster, specifically talking about Travis Hunter and Jarian Jones, kind of trying to take those guys under his wing. But beyond that, on the field, he made plays every single day. Disruption in the backfield, disruption at the catch point. Really good, solid week for him. I think he's going to be somebody Jaguars fans like a lot when it comes time to put the pads on. Brenton Strange, another guy, when it comes time to put the pads on, he's going to bring it. He is big, strong, explosive, and he just feels like he's taken another step. And maybe he just needed more reps. Maybe he needed more time on task. Maybe he needed a clear path to playing time. But whatever it may be, Brenton Strange looks like a guy that deserved to go in the second round a couple years ago. He looks really good. Hands, explosiveness, overall athleticism, speed, reliability. He's been heavily targeted. I think he's going to be a big part of the Jaguars offense. Caleb Ransaw, rookie. Obviously, Travis Hunter looks good every time he's on the field. So, I don't think that is anything surprising. Caleb Ransaw, though, the Jaguars' second pick in the 2025 NFL draft. 88 overall in the third round. He had a good week. He made plays on the ball multiple times, was where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. You can see the athleticism, the physicality, kind of at the top of routes, the disruption at the catch point. I think he had a good week. And, I think right now you could look at a lot of different guys as potential starters at safety. Eric Murray will start. But, Dewey, Caleb Ransaw, Antonio Johnson had himself a good week. He could probably be looked at as a winner as well. There's some guys back there. I think the ideal situation for the Jaguars is that Caleb Ransaw, who this regime targeted, converted to safety, is the winner of that job. I think that's the ideal because he's a tremendous athlete who does not miss tackles. And if he can get it all together, transitioning to safety full-time, that would be a huge win for them because I think he has the potential to be a good starter. Final winner is running back ball security. I know you hate to say it, but ball security has been an issue for these running backs in Jacksonville. Bashal Tutin before he got to Jacksonville and then on his very first rep in team at OTAs. And then Tank Bigsby has had trouble hanging on to the football throughout his young career. Travis Etienne had fumbling issues in his first year. Kind of cleaned those up big time the last couple years. Running back ball security was really good this week. Catching passes and just with the ball in their hands. So that's really good. And this is a defense that is taught and trained consistently to be punching at that football. So the running backs will be tested in practice hanging on to the ball. And they have been. And I think they did a good job of doing that this week. And that's going to be critical. I mean, turning the football over, easy giveaways, unforced errors, that you can't have them. Cannot have them. So they need to make sure that they're focused on that throughout the rest of the offseason, into training camp, and definitely into the regular season. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. We will continue to cover this team throughout the break. Still going to get out, on average 2 episodes a day for y'all during the week. Really appreciate you tuning in, supporting this channel. If you enjoy the content, obviously hit that like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. All Jags all the time. Y'all have a good one.